You know, we really used to live in the age of Ford.
Oh, definitely. The whole Model T era.
Right, the classic historical joke, you can get a Model T in absolutely any color you want, as long as it's black.
Exactly. It was all about standardization.
Yeah, just total predictability, a very simple, linear way of looking at production. But today, I mean, we live in the age of
Oh,
Starbucks.
that is a completely different world.
It really is. You walk in, and there are like literally tens of thousands of ways to customize a single cup of coffee, or
Right.
even look at Facebook's relationship status dropdown.
It's complicated.
Yes, it's complicated. And honestly, that might just be the defining motto for the entire modern organizational world. Everything is just complicated.
It is. I mean, we are operating in these environments where the variables are almost infinite now.
Right.
A localized market tremor in, one hemisphere, it instantly scrambles supply chains globally.
Instantly.
And we have these shifting demographics creating wildly diverse workforces with entirely different psychological expectations of what a job even is.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. We want to figure out exactly how organizations navigate this overwhelming complexity. Specifically, for you listening, how this impacts your everyday work life.
And to do that, we are drawing entirely from Dr. Catherine Miller's textbook, Organizational Communication. It's really the gold standard for understanding not just what happens during these massive organizational shifts, but why it matters.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because to understand how to lead through a complex world, we first have to look at the kinds of disruptions we're dealing with. And Dr. Miller breaks this down into two main types of change.
Right. There's the kind you plan for and the
Uh,
kind that just hits you out of nowhere.
Yeah, planned and unplanned. So let's start with planned change. Like say a school system decides to adopt a totally new reading method.
Which sounds orderly, right? Because it's planned.
You'd think. A mandate comes from the board, the principal implements it, the teachers teach it, but the reality is that plan change is actually incredibly fragile.
Oh, absolutely. The first major hurdle is what researchers call ownership tension.
Ownership tension, which basically means, does the person in charge actually own the problem?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if that principal is handed a new reading program, but they don't actually believe the old reading program was broken in the first place.
Then you have a massive disconnect.
Huge. It's just a mandate. The solution is completely divorced from the perceived problem. And even if you get past that, you hit a much deeper psychological barrier, which is resistance.
And this isn't just like employees being stubborn or lazy.
No, not at all. It comes down to our cognitive architecture.
Yeah.
It's something called schemata.
Schemata, the mental blueprints.
Right. If you're an employee, your schemata is your entire understanding of how your world operates.
Yeah.
Who has power, how decisions get made, the unwritten rules.
So when management rolls out a massive change, they aren't just tweaking a workflow, they're taking a sledgehammer to that mental blueprint.
Exactly. They're invalidating your reality. And people will fight to protect that because relearning the rules of your environment is exhausting. It's terrifying.
Okay, so planned change is basically deciding to remodel your house while you're still living in it. It's disruptive and stressful.
That's a great way to put it.
But then you have unplanned change, which is, a crisis, the roof literally caving in.
Right. Bypassing the schemata entirely.
And there's this striking note in the source material about the Mandarin symbol for crisis. It's often interpreted as dangerous opportunity. But here's my question for you. Is it actually possible to, prepare for an unplanned crisis? Isn't that an oxymoron?
Well, what's fascinating here is that preparation isn't about predicting the exact event. It's about how crises evolve. They actually move through 3 stages.
Okay, what's the first one?
The pre-crisis stage. This is all about signal detection and preparation.
Oh, like tracking weather patterns.
Exactly. If you're in Tornado Alley, you can't prevent the tornado. Your signal detection is tracking the weather and preparing your protocols. But if the threat is, say, terrorism, the pre-crisis stage is about active prevention.
Right, trying to stop it before it happens, and then you hit the actual crisis stage.
Yes. Which is pure sense-making and containment, just trying to survive it.
And then the third stage.
Post-crisis. And this is where that opportunity part of the Mandarin symbol comes in. It's apologizing, determining responsibility, and most importantly, learning and building future systems.
Like the Costa Concordia cruise ship grounding.
Yes, a perfect example.
Because the post-crisis phase there didn't just end with an apology. It completely changed maritime safety regulations, like lifeboat drills now have to happen before the ship even leaves the dock.
Right, the crisis forced a structural evolution in the whole industry. But Whether it's a plan remodeling or the roof caving in, the uncertainty creates massive anxiety for employees.
So much anxiety. And that brings us to the playbook, because how leadership communicates during this anxiety is totally make or break.
Absolutely. Clampett's research outlines these communication strategies, and it's amazing how often leaders get it wrong.
Yeah, let's talk about the worst ones first, like spray and pray.
Oh, spray and pray is a disaster.
It's literally just showering employees with every possible piece of information, right?
Yeah, every memo, every slide deck, just a fire hose of data.
Mhm.
And then hoping, praying they figure it out. It
Yeah.
fails because of sheer cognitive overload.
People just can't filter out the noise,
No, they drown in it. But then you have the complete opposite approach, which is withhold and uphold.
which sounds just as bad.
It is. Management just hoards the information. They kept quiet, the rumor mill starts, and they just stick to this vague party line.
Which creates a massive information vacuum. And human nature being what it is, we immediately invent the worst case scenario.
Exactly. It breeds so much distrust. So the strategy Clampett actually recommends is highly effective is called underscore and explore.
Underscore and explore. I like that.
It works because leaders focus on the fundamental issues. They underscore the boundaries, and then they give employees the freedom to explore possibilities within those limits.
Right. It's like putting a really solid fence around a playground. The kids feel safe to run around and be creative because they know exactly where the boundary is.
That psychological safety is key, especially when you look at Lori Lewis's research on staff participation.
Oh, this is fascinating because she draws a hard line between types of participation.
And she does. She distinguishes between symbolic participation and participation as a resource.
And symbolic is exactly what it sounds like, just creating the illusion of buy-in.
Yes. Soliciting input when you have absolutely no intention of using it. And employees have great radar for this. When they realize it's just a performance, the cynicism it creates is incredibly toxic.
Way worse than if the boss had just been honest about being a dictator from the start.
Much worse.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me regarding honesty, because we always hear honesty is the best policy. And there used to be this idea, the uncertainty paradox, that employees preferred any info, even bad news, over no info.
Right, the idea of ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. But Lewis found that previewing the pain of a change doesn't actually improve the credibility of the people implementing it.
It really doesn't.
So if previewing the pain doesn't help, and then you have Klein's research suggesting that strategic ambiguity is sometimes necessary, I have to push back a bit. When is it actually okay for leaders to just be vague? Isn't that just lying?
It's a fair question. But strategic ambiguity isn't just lying, it's a specific tool. Think of it this way. Sometimes an organization doesn't have all the facts yet, or there's potential litigation.
Okay, so legal privacy issues.
Right. Or, very commonly, there are competing organizational goals. You might need to cut costs aggressively while also trying to boost morale. If you speak with absolute rigid certainty about one, you completely alienate the other.
So it's about not backing yourself into a corner before you have to.
Exactly. It gives the organization room to maneuver.
But man, to execute something as nuanced as underscore and explore, or to know exactly when to use strategic ambiguity, you need incredibly effective leadership.
You do. And our understanding of what makes a leader effective has completely evolved over the years.
Right, let's walk through that evolution, because it started with trait theories, didn't it?
Yes. The old leaders are born, not made idea. It focused entirely on inherent traits,
Yeah.
like, intelligence, self-confidence, sociability.
Which feels a little reductive and just assumes one type of charismatic person is perfect for every single situation.
Exactly, which led researchers to style theories. This is about translating those traits into actual behaviors.
Like Blake and Mouton's leadership grid.
Yes, the grid is a classic. It balances a leader's concern for production against their concern for people.
So on one extreme, you have authority compliance, just total production focus. And on the other, country club management, where everyone is just happy but maybe not getting much done.
Right. And they argued the ideal was team management at the top, maximizing both. But the reality is, trying to optimize ruthless efficiency and deep empathy at the exact same time in every situation.
That sounds exhausting.
It is, which is why the field shifted to contingency theory. The realization that a highly structured task might need a totally different leader than, say, a creative brainstorming session.
It depends on the situation.
Right. But even that is still very transactional, like do this, get a bonus.
Which brings us to transformational leadership. This is where it gets really deep, because this is about moving beyond just transactions to actually creating a relationship that helps followers reach their full potential.
Yes, and a huge part of transformational leadership relies on exemplification. Do as I say, and as I do.
The textbook uses Gandhi as the prime example of this, right?
It does. He is the ultimate example of exemplification. He lived the exact change he was asking for.
So, just to summarize this for you listening, we've essentially moved from who you are, which is traits, to what you do, which is style, to where you are, the contingency part, all the way to who we become together, which is transformational.
That is a perfect synthesis. And if transformational leadership is really about who we become together,
Hmm.
then the primary tool for building that isn't a spreadsheet.
Right.
It's language.
Language, yes, and this is where Fairhurst and Sarr come in. They call leadership a language game.
They do. They talk about framing.
Yeah.
Framing is how leaders manage meaning. They justify change initiatives by highlighting certain aspects of reality and, downplaying others.
Okay, the textbook has this amazing example of framing. The Malden Mills factory fire.
Oh, Aaron Feuerstein. It's such a powerful case study.
So this massive textile plant burns completely to the ground, total destruction. And the leader, Feuerstein, he could have framed this as a total disaster, an act of God. He could have just collected the insurance money and retired.
And honestly, the business world would have completely accepted that frame.
Right, no one would have blamed him, but instead he framed it as an opportunity to demonstrate his commitment to his workers. He kept paying them while the factory was being rebuilt.
He used language to actively manage the meaning of the event. And by doing that, he created a completely new reality for his employees.
Which is the core of discursive leadership, the most cutting-edge theory we're looking at today. It argues that communication isn't just a tool a leader uses.
No, communication is the medium through which leadership is socially constructed.
Leadership only happens when ideas expressed in talk are actually recognized by others as moving things forward. But, okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
If leadership is just a language game, and it's all about framing reality, doesn't that just sound like corporate spin or outright manipulation?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there is a vital difference. Spin is fundamentally deceptive. It's hiding the truth. But genuine discursive leadership is about managing meaning in a highly complex, equivocal environment. When a massive crisis hits, there isn't one obvious truth about what to do next. The leader uses language so that employees have a shared, productive understanding of their new reality.
So it's co-authoring the path forward.
Exactly. And the most important part, it only works if the followers actually validate that meaning.
Wow. Okay. That completely flips the script.
It really does.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. Whether you are leading a team through a planned remodeling of your department, or you're surviving a sudden, unplanned crisis where the roof caves in, remember that you are not just a cog in a machine. You are actively participating in this communication flow.
And really think about the implications of that discursive approach. If leadership only exists when ideas in talk are recognized and validated by others, then the leader doesn't actually hold the absolute power.
The followers do.
Exactly. You, the listener, ultimately create the leaders in your life by choosing which language, which frames, and which meaning you accept.
You hold the validation. That is definitely something to mull over the next time your boss calls a mandatory all-hands meeting.